Hey guys, in this tutorial we are going to learn about web scraping with Selenium and Python. The reason that we're going to do Selenium instead of like Beautiful Soup and the requests library is because Selenium allows us to render JavaScript on a page before we actually scrape it. So it can get a lot more stuff than the requests library can get, and nowadays a lot of stuff is rendered with JavaScript after the HTML has already been loaded. So it'll help us just be more versatile in getting the data that we want. In this tutorial we'll get quotes from this funny quotes site. It'll just query all of these results, scrape them, and return just one random one that we want to see in our command line. So to start, let's open Visual Studio Code or your favorite editor, and let's open a terminal. And you can do that by going up here and clicking Terminal, New Terminal, or Control-Shift tick mark. That makes it faster in my opinion, so I like to do that to open and close it. And what we'll do is I'm going to make a new directory in my coding area called quotes. So make that directory, and now I'm going to go open it. Open folder, and we're going to tutorial code quotes. All right, so first we'll add a new file called scraper.js. Not JS. I've been doing a different project lately. Anyway, I'm just gonna outline the basic things we're gonna do. We're gonna have our imports up here, and then we're going to start a browser with Selenium, and then we will navigate to the quotes page and find all quotes. Then we will print a random quote and close the browser. Okay, so let's open up our terminal again. And we're going to want to create a virtual environment which allows us, when we download packages from the internet, to scope those packages just within our project here. That way our packages that we download don't affect our whole computer or other projects that may be on it. So this is built into Python 3. If you do Python 3-m venv, that's the command to create a virtual environment. And you give it a name as well. I always give it the name venv, but you can name it whatever you like. So we run that, and then if you're on Linux, you're going to say source venv, the folder we just created, bin activate, and that will start up your virtual environment as you see over here. The next thing we want to do is get Selenium so that we can actually use it. So if we go to the Selenium installation guide and scroll down a bit, we can copy this pip install Selenium. And pip is a package manager. And so if we ever want to get code off the internet, pip will download it into our virtual environment that we just created. And now we can use it simply by coming up to the code and saying from Selenium import WebDriver. After that, we can come down here and start a browser by saying browser equals WebDriver.Chrome, and you can actually use Firefox, Safari, Edge. There's a lot of different web drivers you can use, but you have to download them individually, and you'll see that on the documentation up here. Before we can run our code, we actually have to get a driver, and we can do that. I'm going to get the Chrome one by clicking here, and then click on whatever version of Chrome you have. I'm on Linux, so I'll download the Linux one, open it up, and I'm going to extract that into my desktop. Perfect. So now I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code, and I'm actually going to move that Chrome driver that I put on the desktop and put it in the user bin folder. Sudo move, and we're going to move from the desktop, get that Chrome driver executable, and we'll move it to user bin. Now, the reason that we're doing this is because we need to know, our program needs to be able to find that Chrome driver executable. So we could actually specify in this Chrome constructor executable path, I believe is what it is, and we could specify a directory that we want to go to. But we're not going to do that. Because we moved the Chrome driver to our user bin folder, just running the constructor will have it check there first, actually. If it doesn't have an executable path passed in, then it will go to the user bin folder and check for the Chrome driver. And it should be able to find it. Let's test that out. We'll say Python scraper.py, and it should open up a web browser just like that. Perfect. You'll notice that it says Chrome is being controlled by automated test software, and that's Selenium. All right, so now let's navigate to the quotes page and find the quotes. First, we gotta get the URL. So we'll copy that, go back to Visual Studio Code, and we're gonna say browser.get and paste in that URL. That will open up our browser to the URL we wanna go to. And once we get there, we want to scrape the quotes. So what you're gonna do is right click on a quote and click inspect in your browser. And if you've worked with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then this will be familiar to you. But you'll notice if we click on this little arrow right here, you can highlight over stuff. And we want to grab this whole box. But you'll notice that they all have a class called author quotes. And that is how we are going to grab them. We're going to search by class name. We'll copy this author quotes. And we will come in here and say quotes equals browser.find elements by class. I think that's the way to do it. And that was the wrong paste. There we go. And I'm actually going to check to make sure this is right. So Selenium find elements by class. Selenium find elements by class. Just to make sure. Here's all the different ways you can search things. ID, name, XPath, by class name. That's what we want. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm actually going to paste it right there. And that should get our quotes for us. Now if we want to print a random one, we're going to have to import the random library, which is a standard Python package. And we can just say print random.choice quotes. And what that does is random.choice takes a list, and quotes is a list. It'll get a list of different author quotes, but it actually gets the whole HTML element. So we don't want to print that to the console. We want to print the text. So we're going to say .text. Once that happens, and it prints that, we're going to say browser.close, and this should work now. So let's run python scraper.py so you can see the whole process. So it'll open the web page. So you see it's working. It'll load it. The first time, it can take a little bit of time, I've noticed. But if you run this a second time, then it'll be a lot faster. So we'll wait for this browser to close. And once it is done and has closed, it should print a quote to the terminal. You know what? I said find element by CSS or by class name, and I want to say find elements by class name. That's why it wasn't running quickly. It's because I was getting one thing and then asking random.choice to pick between one thing and it breaks when that happens. So if we run python scraper.py again after changing this element to elements, then it should grab what we're looking for and print it into the console. So it loads the page. It should be grabbing all the quotes right now. Yep, there it is. It's just a job. Grass grows, birds fly, waves pound the sand, I beat people up. Muhammad Ali. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to actually specify an option within our browser that says don't open an actual visible web page, run it in what's called headless mode. So we have to import from Selenium webdriver.chrome.options, import options. And down here we can specify an options variable and instantiate the class. After that we're going to say options dot headless equals true, and we are going to pass in the options we just created to the Chrome constructor. So we're going to say, not options, we're going to say Chrome options equals options, and we'll pass it that keyword argument. And this should actually run our browser headless so that you don't see it, and it will still return the quote that we want to get. And there it is. Don't worry about the world coming to an end today. It is already tomorrow in Australia. I like that. Okay, so that's the basics of scraping with Selenium and Python and the Chrome driver. It's pretty simple. It's really useful because it renders the JavaScript and then scrapes the page. Whereas if we tried that with just the requests library, it wouldn't have got any of the quotes for us. This is really useful if you want to use it in like an API to go get data and then return it through your API. And I think we'll talk more about that in future tutorials that I do. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or reach out. Thanks.